you. For you yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so comes as a thief in the night. For when they say peace and safety, then sudden destruction comes upon them as labor pains on a pregnant woman, and they shall not escape. But you, brethren, are not in darkness, so that day shall overtake you as a thief. You are all sons of the light and sons of the day. We are not of the night nor of darkness. Let us not sleep as others, but let us watch and be sober. For those that sleep, sleep at night, and those that are drunk at night. But let us who are of the day be sober, putting on the breastplate of faith, love, and a helmet of salvation. For God did not appoint us to wrath, but to obtain salvation through our Lord Jesus Christ. If you've been studying end times for a while, you've read these before. The Bible is basically telling us here there's two groups of people in the earth. There's one group that knows what's going on, similar to Noah and Daniel and Job. They're in a time period where they reflected some of the things that we're going to go through in the end times. They knew how to interact with God, how to maintain their integrity, how to maintain their light and their fruit under, Antichrist oppression, Satan oppression. And so, there's that group, and then there's a group which includes Christians. There's everybody else that has no clue what's going on. And so we understand that what's going to happen. I mean, God in the Word has given us so much information about the signs before Great Tribulation, that there'd be wars and rumors of wars, pestilence, famine, and earthquakes, that there'd be a great apostasy of the church. Many would be offended. Many would betray one another. They would hate one another. They believed false teaching and false prophets, and lawlessness would steal the love that was in their heart. So Jesus draws this picture, and what I really think is a part of our ministry where we want to show the signs. We want to show what is going on out there, not to bring fear, but to bring a readiness, to bring a preparedness, to bring an understanding of what's going on. Every week I look at what's out there. I mean, I have, there's 2 or 3 things that I'm not reporting on today, but you'll see them in the next weeks. One of them is a digital signature, which Australia is adopting, which now puts a digital footprint on every person in that country. We see that Europe has adopted ESG as a norm and has legislated it, the economic, social, and governance score on individuals. That basically gives us 2 credit ratings. One is how our real credit is, and the other is how do we treat the environment? What are we doing socially? What's our carbon footprint? These are all a part of this new Antichrist system that's coming on the earth. In our country, I can report on the Trump trials every week. They've weaponized the Justice Department. So when you look at it, federal law enforcement basically lied and investigated their own president, their own executive. The intelligence community investigated and actually ran operations against President Trump. And now the justice system, they're using it to weaponize it. And so these are things in our country that aren't normal. I mean, these really take us away from our fundamental principles, which are in the Constitution. Putting a gag order on President Trump, so he can't campaign, he can't talk about it. I mean, this judge has tied him up in knots. It'll be amazing if he wins this trial. And here we have Biden ready to go in the Oval Office. We have, actors, outside the courthouse speaking. I mean, they're doing everything to take this man down. And it's Trump derangement syndrome at its worst. So I have to go through what's out there. And there's a lot. There's a lot on my radar for what we'll talk about in future and how I put this together. So I want you to understand that when I speak on what I really think, it's not to bring anger. It's not to bring fear. It's not to bring any negative emotions. It's to tell us that Jesus told us this was going to happen. Jesus explained this as a sign. And when we see these signs, we know that it's near. And so that should give us the encouragement to dig deeper and get closer with the Lord and to walk with him. Because we are sons and daughters of the light. We know what's going on. And so we need to fashion our lives according to that. Noah prepared because the Lord gave him revelation. Daniel was in captivity under an antichrist and knew God and was able to open the heavens and live in that oppression with God's favor and protection and a lion's den and from the king's orders to worship. The 3 Hebrew boys were able to. And then Job, in the midst of everything being taken away, was able to say God gives and God takes away. He never lost his integrity. He held on to God and trusted him. He knew he was being tested. And so when we look at us today, we're approaching the darkest hour in human history. The Bible tells us that great tribulation is going to be the darkest time ever on the face of the earth. More people will be killed by war, pestilence, famine, earthquake, the Antichrist. And so prior to that, the decades prior to that, we're running up into it, and the spirit of Antichrist is at work in the earth today. And in our nation today, bringing us to a new place. Bringing us to, while, we look at the war in Israel and we watch it on television. And while we look at the war in Ukraine and we watch it on television, and what I think will be a future war in Taiwan and China, maybe even this year, these are things that we watch. We watched the wars in Iraq. We watched these wars, and we've never been, it's never affected us. And I'm here to tell you, we're going to get affected by this. We're going to get attacked. The attacks are coming to our soil. And so, I want to go through 3 things this week, because I prepared for them. One is the new Open Door Ministry, which helps persecuted Christians around the world, came out with their report for the top 10 nations that persecutes Christians in the world. There are, by their measure, 365 million people living under severe persecution around the world, and thousands of them are being executed in the street or put in the concentration camps. While we're comfortable in our country and comfortable going to church and going to Bible study and doing the things that we do as U.S. citizens, there are people, brothers and sisters, that are being killed for their faith, for simply owning a Bible, for believing in Jesus Christ. We've taken it for granted for far too long. And laws are being implemented, and I think we'll look at it next week, where laws were put in place in Australia and Canada, which are coming here soon, which really protect the LGBTQ community to a point where it becomes a hate crime to speak against it. Well, preaching the gospel and preaching the Bible comes against it. So that will become a hate crime in those nations, and pastors will be able to be arrested and thrown in prison. And so our videos is this open door sort of report that comes out once a year, and it gives us good detail on the top 10 nations that persecute Christians and cause them to go into concentration camps and to be executed. And so let's watch our first set of videos, and then we'll be right back.
Could praying put you in danger? Could going to church risk your life? Could following Jesus cost you your job, your home, or your family? Around the world today, our Christian brothers and sisters are counting the cost of their faith. And these are the 10 countries where the price of following Jesus is highest. Number 10, Afghanistan. The Taliban hunts for hidden networks of believers. Suspected Christians can be arrested, interrogated, and even killed. At number 9, Iran. House churches are seen as a threat to national security. Pastor Anushavan has started serving a 10-year prison sentence after 30 agents raided his home. Sudan is at number 8. In the chaos and conflict of civil war, Christians are especially vulnerable. Believers have been attacked, their property looted, and churches closed. Number 7, Pakistan. Pakistani Christians are seen as second-class citizens. False accusations of blasphemy result in innocent believers facing mob violence. Christian girls continue to be abducted and forced to convert to Islam. Nigeria is at number 6. More Christians are killed for their faith in Nigeria than in all the other countries of the world combined. Pastor Zachariah came home one day to find his village attacked and his wife and son murdered by militants. Number 5. Yemen. The very small number of Yemeni Christians must worship in secret. House church leader Salah is on the wanted list, but despite death threats, he courageously continues his ministry. At number 4 is Eritrea. Christian activities are severely restricted. When Abdullah told people about Jesus, he was sent to prison. The conditions were so terrible that he never came out alive. Libya is number 3 on the list. Libya considers itself to be a completely Islamic nation. Libyan believers who tell others about Jesus risk arrest and violent opposition. Number 2, Somalia. In this highly restrictive Islamic society, even the suspicion of being a Christian is extremely dangerous. Converts who are discovered may instantly pay with their lives. And at number 1, North Korea. This remains the most costly place in the world to be a Christian. Even owning a Bible is illegal. Jiho's father was taken away when security agents discovered his secret book. She never saw him again. Christians are sent to appalling labor camps or simply killed on the spot. More than 365 million Christians face high levels of persecution and discrimination. That's 1 in 7 Christians globally.
Well, welcome back. And as you can see, the list doesn't change much every year. The numbers change. There's an increase every year. And the part that we need to watch and we need to understand is that it's coming to the U.S. I don't care if Donald Trump is elected. I think he will be. I think if it's a fair election, he'll be our next president. I think he's going to come into a time where there's going to be increased wars. There's going to be issues with food. There's going to be issues with protests in our own country, terrorists in our own country. And he'll walk into a time where he won't be able to do what he did in his last term. And so we need to be prepared for that. The other thing I want to report on today is I've always said this. I had a dream in 2015 and 5 subsequent dreams and visions since in the last part of the last decade where China became an adversary to us and we were hit here on our soil by weaponry. And so I think that China and Russia, they just had a meeting in the last weeks between Putin and Xi. And regardless if Trump wins or Biden wins or there's any other president, this is all happening now in real time. And while he may bring some relief, he's not going to bring correction. He's not going to be able to take down all of these forces because at some point we will elect someone that will take us down this road. So we need to be prepared. We need to get the word out. We need to get people so that they are not in fear. They are not going to go in hiding. They are not going to submit to the Antichrist, submit to his ideology for temporary comfort because of false doctrine in the church. I believe that this ministry has been raised up for this time. I believe that our message, our heart, how we see the gospel and how we see the word of God, how we see the compromise and changes that have happened in the church, we need to understand that God blesses obedience. He blesses those that are all in with him. And those that aren't, he tries to get all in. But if they're not being taught, there's going to be a tendency to run from Christianity and apostate. So that's our ministry. Please share this. Help us grow this ministry, this part of our ministry. Right now, we're starting to break out because we are spending on marketing, advertising, and so we're finding the right people because of our Google ads. Those looking for curriculum, we're finding that our free curriculum is attracting churches and small groups and community groups. And so about 6,000 people a month are hitting our landing page from that ad and coming in to our website, looking at our curriculums. There's a lot more downloads, a lot more activities, and a lot more people joining our mailing list and email list. And I'm only spending about $1,000 a month. I want to spend $5,000 or $6,000 a month. I'm spending $35 a day to $30 a day. I'd like to spend $200 a day. So pray about becoming a sponsor of a month, or just giving $10 or $25, becoming one of the $425 donors. So while we're doing that, we want to build more curriculums to give them to people and put them in the hands of community groups and churches. I think that our ministry is very compelling when you listen to what God has given us. He told me, I'm giving you the keys to teach people in and to get through what's ahead. And so we started with All In. We went to the book of James. We did spiritual warfare and our authority. So those three are all up or being put up. And now the fourth one is called Blind Spots, how the church has gravitated away from fundamental teachings that have been in the church for 2,000 years. We don't teach it anymore, or we've changed it to line up with our current social standards. We need to understand God hasn't changed and His Word hasn't changed. So pray about supporting us monthly. Pray about supporting us in our effort to build our ministry. Anyway, God bless you. Thanks for watching today. I pray that God's face would shine upon you and you be blessed in all that you do.